this weird debate going on in my head for some reason all day is whether or not to tell this joke, but I told it to like two of you at dinner, and you both laughed. And I don't know if you're being polite, but those are the people to blame if this bombs. But a couple of you said, "Oh, Revelation again," and I can't believe we're talking about Revelation, and I get that. And so here's the joke. I was told a long time ago that there are two kinds of churches. There are churches that never preach about Revelation, and there are churches that preach way too much about Revelation. So you bombed. All right, so that's it. Yes, that was the whole joke. Anyway, the point is that I want that happy medium. I know that Revelation is weird and confusing for a lot of folks, and it has been for me off and on as well. But I had a wonderful opportunity to study it in seminary with an incredible, one person in particular, incredible world-renowned scholar of apocalyptic literature. And it's just, I find it to be an absolutely beautiful book. And I'm so glad that some of you appreciated the approach we did last week, and I hope that that's the same for this, which is just, I want you to know that this is another book that fundamentally is about God's incredible work in the world and in our lives. So I want to share to you tonight another one of my favorite passages from this confusing and weird book, Revelation chapter 20, and we'll read most of the chapter. And if you'd like to follow along, it's in your Bible. Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven, holding in his hand the key to the bottomless pit, and a great chain. He seized the dragon, that ancient serpent who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years, and threw him into the pit, and locked and sealed it over him, so that he would deceive the nations no more, until the 1,000 years were ended. After that, he must be let out for a little while. And I'm going to jump down to verse 7. When the 1,000 years are ended, Satan will be released from his prison and will come. Satan will be released from his prison and will come out to deceive the nations at the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, in order to gather them for battle. They are as numerous as the sands of the sea. They marched up over the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints in the beloved city, and fire came down from heaven and consumed them. And the devil who had deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet were, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. The whole chapter is there, but that's what we're going to read tonight. And I want to invite you to pray with me. God, open our hearts and our minds to your love and wisdom, to the work of you, your Holy Spirit, so that we might be formed for your will and your glory. Speak through me in these moments, if need be, speak in spite of me, so that your word alone will be heard this day. Amen. So some of you were here in, I guess it would have been my second week here at Trinity, just a few months ago still. And when I preached on Sunday morning over in the worship center, the sermon, one of the things I shared was that I love movies, and especially I love Westerns. You might remember that. And if you don't, I'm going to say a bit about it again, because I love Westerns. I just do. And in fact, I let myself dress the part a little bit tonight. And I love them. I always have. And when I say I always have, I mean that literally. Like, this is not a recent development. This is not something that I'm sort of playing up for a sermon. I mean, I have pictures of me as a toddler in a plastic hat and a holster and boots, and I'm told that trying to get me out of those things was quite a chore, not an easy one. So my love for the West and that genre goes back before, frankly, I was even conscious of it, and I feel like it's just kind of grown over the years. I traded in the plastic boots for some leather ones, and I think I understand it a bit more, but I continue to love Westerns. And part of what I recognize that I love about them today is a common foundation that runs throughout just about every Western movie that I've ever seen, and probably you ever have. have, and that is that fundamentally they break down to a battle between good and evil. And it might be a woman, or it might be some children, or maybe it's a whole town that needs saving, but you better believe that there is a bad guy or a gang that we are going to very soon be rooting against. The soundtrack could be an organ, it could be a harmonica, it might be a full orchestra working through an Ennio Morricone soundtrack. It might even simply be an eerie, telling silence. But you can count on a good guy being along shortly. And it might take place in Colorado or Mexico, or maybe it's a spaghetti western shot in Italy, but you can bet at some point there's going to be a showdown. And whether they draw down on one another on a dusty road, or they outsmart or outrun or out something, the bad guys, the good guys will overcome. I mean, at least almost always. And then the woman or the kids or the town will rejoice, and the good guys will ride off into the Colorado or Mexican or Italian sunset. And if that's familiar to you, if like me you enjoy westerns enough to start noticing some of those themes, there might be another tool that they use, this symbolism piece that I want to think about some tonight that you might be aware of. It's something that classic westerns especially employ to very clearly designate the good guys from the bad. And I mean, you would see it from far off. You could tell before they said a word or had a single action which side of that line they were on. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Yes, exactly. The color of their hats. The color of their hats. Playing on this, albeit problematic, dark and light metaphor, if you look for it, you will very easily see that the good guys very often wore the white hat, and the bad guys would wear the black hat. And the difference in the way that you sort of know in advance who that person is going to be is actually really striking when you know to start looking for it. In fact, I mentioned before that one of my favorite movies is Once Upon a Time in the West, and just reading sort of the history of that, I know that one of the most amazing and jarring scenes of that movie was the moment when the camera slowly pans up and Henry Fonda, the quintessential blonde-haired, blue-eyed good guy, is in a black hat. He's a bad guy. So, I mean, it's like, this is a big deal. You see these hats and you know. And to me, that's always been a really interesting tool that the genre employs. This obvious distinction to designate one from the other, good and evil, white hats and black hats. And that sort of more broadly, we know that that isn't just in westerns. Because this thesis or this theme, good versus evil, it's in so much. So many of our popular franchises tell that kind of story. Whether you're talking about the Marvel Universe or Star Wars or Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, doesn't matter. Even your standard rom-com seems to nudge the viewer to cheer for a certain pairing because one possible partner is the good guy or the good girl compared to another more evil-leaning choice. I mean, I could go on, but I think you get the point. We love good versus evil stories. And so far beyond having, simply, that's the antagonist, he's moving the story along. I mean, something or someone or some group personifies evil to some degree, and the hero or the heroic good team personifies good, and then we get behind them. We cheer them on as they overcome, as they defeat, as they conquer. And I'm certainly not saying to you that we should enjoy our good versus evil style entertainment, or that we shouldn't. I'm not saying that that's exactly what we need to read into Revelation, but I want to be clear that we're not strangers to this battle between good and evil, especially as John presents this conflict that's happening between God and Satan. What I do want to say is, and here's the thing, because we love it, good versus evil, because we look for it, we are at the risk of letting it simplify way too much. We are often in danger of projecting a love of the good versus evil story and find ourselves very excited to script the story or to understand it a certain way, or maybe more accurately, to be the ones who cast the characters. This is what I'm talking about. All of us have people in our lives that we would just love to walk up to and say, would you just mind wearing this black cowboy hat? I just really feel like it suits your personality. Let me know you're coming. In the world that we script, that we understand, that we define, the bad guys are those people. The bad guys are that political party, that nation. The bad guys are them. Which, of course, and just as perilous, makes us the good guys. We love to cast the characters, to determine, to designate, to name who is good and who is evil. We look out from under our white brims and place black hats on them. And when we do this, part of what our passage reminds us tonight is when we do this, we have forgotten who the enemy actually is. When we become convinced that other human beings are our enemies, we have been deceived by the real enemy. Satan is portrayed in Revelation as the personification of evil. And maybe you have heard this saying that the devil's best trick was to convince us that he doesn't exist. And I think one of the ways that Satan does just that is by convincing us that our enemy is someone else. That we should look instead to them, to that family, to those people, to him, her, and them, to they. That's our enemy, right? Those people. Those people that God loves. Those people that Jesus calls us to love. That Jesus called our siblings. One of my favorite quotes, I actually had to make sure I haven't used this yet, so surprised I hadn't in my first 3 months. But one of my favorite quotes comes from a tremendous author named Alexander Solzhenitsyn, and he writes, "If only there were evil people somewhere insidiously committing evil deeds, and it were necessary only to separate them from the rest of us and destroy them. But the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being. There is no simple delineation, no purely good or purely evil person, no matter how comfortable it would be to believe otherwise. We are, each of us, all of humankind, plagued by evil and capable of good." In our passage that we read, Satan is referred to twice as the deceiver of nations. And that's a very specific identity that John, who is the author of Revelation, uses several times throughout the book. In verse 8 tells us that Satan deceives the nations in order to gather them for battle. In other words, the numerous people, that nation of people that are described in the following verse as surrounding the saints of God with the intent to destroy them, they're there because they have been deceived by Satan. Even that is just this incredible message that's given to the persecuted Christians that John was writing to. I mean, he's telling them, look, your enemy is not even the people who are surrounding you and harassing you, imprisoning you, even killing you. Your enemy is the power of evil. And by the way, that is the very same power of evil of which they are the victims. And that's a message that we need to continue to hear today. As I prepared to preach tonight, I couldn't help but think of the designation of evil that we throw around all the time. Because it makes it easier when we get to cast the characters. When we get to accept and declare and decide that a certain people or a nation or a religious group are actually just evil, start with an assumption that anyone is inherently evil, rather than siblings that are attacked by the same evil that plagues us, then that gives us an opportunity to rationalize a whole lot. Cries for help can be ignored. Destruction is just justified. Shared goodness as God's creation, you can forget that whole idea. The call to care for the widow, the orphan, the migrant, that thing that James tells us is true religion, that could be limited, maybe even just ignored. When we hop into the director's chair and cast our enemies as other human beings, when we determine what them is evil, we dismiss the reality of evil. Deny our siblings as part of God's good creation, and forget the disease the Bible teaches us about and futilely attack the symptoms, forgetting that we too are symptomatic. And then in the act of determining others as bad, as the black hat wearing folks, we declare that we are good and deserve to wear the white hats. That we have authority, if not a duty, to judge. And declare that salvation is maybe not as necessary for us. Maybe it is, but to a lesser degree in comparison, right? When we define goodness, the truth is in doing that, we are placing ourselves as equals to God, which means we're dismissing God. A friend of mine, wonderful woman, standing in the pulpit on her first Sunday, first day with the church, and she said to them, "Good morning, saints!" And a resounding "Good morning" was the response, although they were so excited. And then she said to them, "Good morning, sinners!" And a resounding shuffling of bulletins and clearing of throats was the response. They didn't know what to do with it. Did she just call us sinners? The line dividing good and evil runs through the heart of every human being. And yet, Jesus says, "You are the light of the world." Jesus doesn't say, "Some of you are the light of the world." He doesn't say, "Those people over there, they're the light of the world, and if you work on these three things, you could be the light of the world too." He says, "You are the light of the world today and now, and yes, them. They are the light of the world." See, we struggle with evil in our own lives. Here's the good. This is what I love about Westerns. The Westerns have half of that too. The anti-heroes. The people who are struggling. I brought props. They get to wear the brown hat. I'm going to put this on. The ones wearing the brown hats, these are the people, they're the good guys who've gone a little bad, or the bad guys who've gone a little good. You're not really sure. Or more accurately, they're just the people who are struggling. They're the people who find themselves on one side of the line on one day and maybe on the other at a different time. The people in the brown hats are the ones you know don't get it right all the times, but again and again find themselves with an opportunity for redemption. Does that sound familiar to you? Our own hats, my friends, are somewhere between the simplicity of the black and the white options. Inherently good as created children of God, but corrupted by evil. We are broken by sin, but praise God, redemption is ever available for us. And that is good news. There is a battle going on, but the battle has already been won by God. For while we were yet sinners, while we succumbed to evil and failed in our own lives, Christ died for us. Salvation is the action of God, and we are recipients and participants, not its makers, or its authors, or its directors. And when we let go of our desired script and pass the story of good versus evil, when we stop seeing our siblings in 10,000 hats of varying shapes When we remember that we aren't even the main character of the story, hero or villain, we've taken a few more. Yes, our hats are washed white in the blood of the Lamb, but that's not because we earned a chance to wear them. It's only because the miracle of Christ's sacrifice. The Lamb that is slain is worthy. The Lamb is victor, and we are made victors too through the inheritance of that grace. Unless we miss it, there is tremendous victory in our passage. Satan, who is again the personification of evil, is bound and imprisoned and ultimately destroyed. And his final deception that leads to that multitude gathering for battle, gathering for the destruction of the saints, is overwhelmed by the power of God. Oh, we so desperately want to be the star. And even when we have the best of intentions, God says to us, I've got this. Invites us to let go and to let God be in control, to let God cast and direct. And that's hard to do. But our passage reminds us what's possible when we do. Though Satan is released from his prison after a period of time, his deceptions don't destroy the faithful, don't even require the action of the saints. It's not a battle that is fought by men and women, but by God. As fire comes down from heaven, destroys the army surrounding the camp, it's God who throws the devil into the lake of fire and sulfur. Part of what this reminds me of, and I'm leaning a bit on some of our shared experiences, but a story that we considered here together just recently. Peter's response to the arrest of Jesus. Hours before he would begin to deny Jesus, in the moment of the arrest, Peter's anger and his desire for action lead him to violence. And he grabs a sword and he slices an ear off of one of the men that had come to make the arrest. Now take a step back for a moment. If this is one of our good versus evil moments, if we were writing or directing this, and this is when Jesus takes advantage of the confusion and breaks free from the ones who have come in black hats that were holding him. And all of the white hat-wearing disciples attack, saving special punishment for Judas, of course. And the getaway ensues, maybe there's a camel chase, and later Peter is commended for his bravery, his cleverness, his quick thinking. But that's not what happens. In the cosmic holy battle of good and evil, even Peter is not completely good and therefore able to judge. And even the men who have come to arrest Jesus are not completely evil and therefore due to be destroyed. Instead, Jesus says, no more of this. And then he heals the man who has come to take him to his death. There is a battle going on. It is a tremendous battle. It is happening all around us. It is happening within us every day. But that battle is not between us and them. And while we should every day strive to resist evil, we have to remember that the enemy is not the people that we dislike, and that our role, our job, our place is not to defeat evil. We are called to be faithful. Because there is good news, very good news, but it isn't that we're right and they're wrong. And it isn't even that evil will be defeated on this side of heaven. The good news is that we believe that even though evil is tenacious, through our faithfulness in the goodness and grace of God, we too, even in our brown hats, we will experience victory that is won by Jesus.